want to do with you guys now is I'd love to show you the development and the breakdown of how the hives are built and how we start them in the spring and go through there. So if you guys want to stand up or bring your chairs over, we're going to go around that whole box setup over there. So in summer, our hives are going to be pretty much this big. So the way the construction of the hive is, we have two deep boxes, and these boxes are called brood boxes. And this is the core of the hive. So this is where all the babies and the queen, everybody lives down in here. So it's really important here. And then we have this little grill, it's called a queen excluder. So it lets only the girls have to be all of one size. It's 5/16 tall, and all the girls get to go through this screen. If they're too big, they get to stay down in the core of the hive. So the queen can't get up here and the boys can't get up here. So this is honey surplus. This is the honey for us, for all the farmers and for all the beekeepers. So we don't take honey from the core ever. And we take honey from the surplus. That's for us. This is for them. So this is our top cover. Break it down and we'll start in the spring. If anybody becomes a beekeeper, this is the best screen to get. This is it's for aeration. Bees need aeration. Super, super important. When I started, when I was really young, I started with this. This did not have a dado in it, and it was just this one screen here. So come winter, I found that this whole thing molded out underneath, and I had water dripping down the center. Remember, the core sits in the middle? So I had all this water dripping down in the middle of my hive, so I lost a lot of my hives that way. So second season, I drilled holes to get more ventilation. This helped tremendously. And then 2 years ago, I found a company that made these. So this really, really is number one. So I recommend you guys finding the screens for ventilation. This is the queen excluder and the boy excluder. So you guys can pass this around. So see, the girls have to be all uniform to get through that. So here we are in, let's say February, March. You guys you're ambitious, so let's start a hive. You know, we want to get going here. So we go and we get all our equipment. So you're going to have this thing that's called a bottom board. So this is a bottom board again. They will sell you the suppliers will sell you this cheap piece of plywood in here. It's solid, so it gets all mucky. So the bees are always cleaning up and they're dropping wax, and sometimes later on in the summer the varroa mites are dropping down. So if this is plywood, the varroa mites are going to come right back onto your bees. So they fall through this. So really, really important. So I recommend you guys getting a screen at the bottom. 2 cinder blocks is fine. Keep them 8 inches off the ground so you can get airflow. So March, you've got all your stuff here, and now you want to paint it. So you go ahead and you put battleships on yours, and you're putting pink daisies on yours, and you're putting SpongeBob on yours. You know, so everybody has their own hive recognition of what's going on. So now the end of March comes. First week of April, our weather's warming up, we're seeing what's going on, and we know that we are ready to get our package of bees. So we start off with our first box right here in the spring. This is a feeder. So for all new beekeepers, we get a little bit of feeder, and we do 2 cups of sugar to 1 gallon of water. And we warm up the water about 100 degrees, melt all the sugar out. You can keep it in the refrigerator. When you're ready, you put this in here. This holds 1 gallon. So it just helps promote the bees. It just gives them food to when you get them started. So first week of April comes around up in Northern California, and we get our package of bees. This is either 3 or 4 pounds of bees that come in here. This is a little bit of sugar water. It's in here, and it comes with a little screen. So we take this out, You can take this water and you can put it back in here if you want. Sometimes they have a little antibiotic in here because they have a Nosema antibiotic, which is their flu, because we're taking bees from all different hives and they're all mixing together. It's kind of like riding BART. And so they all have to take this little bit of medicine to just help keep the flu down for them. The queen is in this little slit right here, and she's hanging off a wire, and the queen will be in this thing. So she'll be hanging inside of here, and the bees will all be in this little package around here. And in the blue book, if you look inside there, you'll see towards the back all the packages that we get, and we have all our packages up there. So I go up to the farms and I shake my bees out, and this guy that has 36,000 hives, and we shake our bees out. I get queens, and then I come back and we start our season all over again in April. So we take her out, we put her off on the side. I take 2 of these frames out, and we take our great bees and we gently shake them out in here. And when we're done shaking them out, we leave them off on the side. If there's any stragglers hanging out, they'll just fly around. So we get all our bees out, we've got this in. All the bees are happy and settled down. We can put these back in.
Now, are you using smoke while you're doing this?
No. No, because yeah, they don't really have a house yet because they're still in transit. So at this point, they're still getting to know each other because they're bees from different hives, and they're all mixed into this big funnel here. And they have a new queen. So, and we don't let the queen out. We let them take the queen out. So the next thing is we put this all together, and there's 2 holes in here, and they're filled with corks. I take one of the corks out, and I put a marshmallow in it. So I put this soft marshmallow in, and the queen's in here with about 5 to 7 worker girls, and there's a little hard candy in the center here. And the worker girls are eating the candy and eating the marshmallow, and they're feeding the queen and servicing her. And all the other bees that are around here are going through the screen with their little tongues, and they're feeding her too, and taking care and getting her, they're getting her pheromone. They want to make sure that her smell is on all the bees together. So we put her in right at the end here. So we just stick her in right at the middle. And I will put a little bit of blue tape to hold, so to make her hold up like this. And then in 3 or 4 days, they'll let her out. They'll eat through that marshmallow and they'll let her out. And then the hive is started. So in about you go in about 3 or 4 days and you remove this. Take it out and add your last frame. So now your hive's off and running. Then you can go in about a week or 2 and check it again, and just make sure everything's going on. Make sure that they're building out the wax and they're doing everything that they need to do. And your sugar water doesn't need to be refilled. Maybe it does. So you can just top it off a little bit.
And where have they placed the queen? Typically, is it random or?
Oh, the queen has full reign of this whole house.
Oh, so she's moving around.
She's moving around. She's getting used to it. So it may take about 10 days to 14 days for her to get settled down and acclimated. While all the other girls, they're working frantic because they're all young. They're taking the wax out of their bodies. They're making royal jelly. So they're sitting here. They have to fill all this up with wax. So it has to look like this. Let me get you a frame here. So before she's laying eggs, they have to have a foundation to put eggs in. So they have to. So all the girls are making this first to start. So once that's all built out, then the queen can start laying eggs, and then the whole system starts. And now, the first 2 or 3 days, the bees are flying out and they're trying to get, they're trying to figure out where their flowers are and everything else to tell all their other partners where stuff is going. So they're bringing food back, and the whole process is started. So in a week, the whole system is up and running and starting. And the queen will probably start laying eggs in 2 weeks. If you're an already established beekeeper and you have frames like this, it starts faster because you don't have to build up the foundation for the queen to start laying eggs. So it's great to get a couple of frames already developed.
And at this point, we only have a brood box. We don't have the surplus.
Nope. So bees like it kind of crowded. So we don't want to give them too much real estate too early because it gets cold for them. So they like the heat, especially in April. You know, we still get down to 45, 50 degrees at night, and you know, maybe 65 in the day. We still could even freeze. So one box. So the end of April comes, and we look at it, and we're like, okay, maybe these 3 are full. The end of April and May, all of these are full. So now we're like, okay, we may have swarming going on because they don't have any more real estate. So we don't need this after 2 to 3 weeks. This is done, this feeder. This is just a stimulus package to get them going, kind of like the government gives us. So we add our frame. They fill all this out. So May comes around. And we add our second piece of real estate here. And this is Northern California. If you're down south, you know, the cycle's consistent. So you don't have a frost in San Diego and New Mexico, so you're going to be doing this consistently. But up here, so the end of May we do this. If this is full at the end of May, we put our queen excluder on. And then we add our first honey box up here. Again, if we are all starting new and we're adding empty frames versus a full waxed frame, they still have to build all this out. If these are here, they're already putting honey in it instantly. That's the difference. So you really gain a lot of time if you can find frames that are already done, or get them from another beekeeper. You know, pay a couple bucks more. These are like $3, you know, so maybe you could pay them $6 and you already have something built out. Foundation's already built out. So you'll gain yourselves a month of time in getting honey and stuff. So typically this will take maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks to build and put honey in it and get ready out here, versus 3 weeks and I could have honey in this. So double in time. So come, let's say the middle of the end of June up here, this box is full. I have 2 options. I can harvest this box, or I can leave it and I can add my second box. So if you don't have an extractor, you can take this off. Let's say it's capped, ready to go. We'll add our second piece of real estate, which is empty. And we'll put this on here. And then this box is full. We'll just put it on top, and they'll keep it serviced. So the bees will just stay up here and they'll keep it serviced and make sure that it's all okay and the honey's capped and everything is good. So now you can do this 2, you could go up to 5, depends when you want to harvest. So if you don't want to harvest in July and you only want to harvest in November, then you can just keep adding real estate. The empty one always is at the bottom and the other ones will be maintained up top. So let's say we harvest, we take all these off and we spin out our honey. We leave 1 box on for them to continue to do the work. We can take our spun honey out and we can feed it back to the bees. So all these frames that come out at the end of the day, so we take this off we spin this out, we take it off the machine and it's gooey. It's got honey everywhere still, residual stuff that we can't get off. I put this back on the hive and feed it back to them. They'll clean all this within a week. And they'll clean, so all these boxes over there, they just came off our hives and they're all clean. I left them on for a week and they ended up like this. So it's really nice. So now I have 2 options. If the season's long enough, I can put this back on and have them make more honey, or I can put it in storage and leave it. So I know that, you know, here November's around the corner, all those are going to get cleaned up and put away and they're going to be put up on the shelf and they're done until March of next year. So that's kind of how it works. So let's say we spin all this out. Come winter, we're going to drop down to 1 box, 1 brood box. So let's say November, Thanksgiving weekend is usually when I drop all my hives down. That whole first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of November, I break my hives down lower. I'm spinning out my honey. I take all these apart. Oh, the other thing, if you're spinning honey, a storage box, super, super important. So I take empty, clean frames. Let's say it's July, I'll take these out, and this is my honey that it's full. So I'll take a full frame of honey and I'll put it in here. Take the empty one and put it back on, so I know it's going back onto the hive. It's important to put a top on this as you're extracting your honey, because what happens is you get these other bees called honey robbers, and they'll clean out. If you left this open, in a half hour they can clean this whole 5 gallons out. So you can get 3 to 5 gallons of honey out of this, and honey's anywhere from 150 to 300 bucks a gallon. So. And if each box has that, and you have 5 boxes, you have a lot of honey there. So, and if you've got 50 hives going, you see how the industry starts. So, so it's important to have a honey storage box when you're spinning it and taking it off your hives. Unless you want to give it back to all the other bees that are in the area. So yellow jackets will come, paper wasps will come, and then the paper wasps are stinging the honeybee and they're killing them, and then they're eating the honey. And so it gets pretty aggressive. So it's really a good thing to just have a box and keeps it closed, and that battle's done. So getting back to the fall, Thanksgiving area, we come down, if the bottom box in Thanksgiving, you won't have too much activity here. You know, your activity will be low, and they'll be in the higher box up here, creating all their energy and their heat is up on the higher area because heat's rising up here. So if there's not much activity at the bottom, we'll take this one away for the season. We'll clean it and we'll bring it down. You may have some stored honey in here, and you may have some pollen in here. You may have nothing. It could be just empty, full frames. And they've taken all those resources and they've brought them up to this one. So what we do is we take this out. This is the active hive. We'll take these, if there's a few bees on it, we'll brush them off with our bee brush, and then this hive is done for the season. Now we're down to 1, and the things that I like to do with these guys is up here in Northern California where we get cold, I use these follower boards. Are you familiar with the follower boards? Yeah, so we use these. It kind of keeps the humidity and moisture off the outside walls from mold that we get. So we put one on each side. So now your hive is going to be down to 6 frames as opposed to 8.
So followers made of cedar?
No, they could be made of pine. I had some, as a builder, I have redwood and cedar and pine, poplar. So I just make them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, but as long as they're not painted. So no painting materials inside. Outside, yes. Inside is all natural materials. So then we leave a little bit of space here. So this can breathe and this can breathe. It's really important for it to breathe for ventilation. So, and then all the bees will stay down here. So come November, December, your bees may drop down to between 1,000 and 5,000 bees versus 200,000 in June. So huge difference. And then spring, we leave, and then in the winter, we do the same thing. We put follower boards for our honey box. We always leave them one thing of honey, between 40 and 50 pounds of honey. And honey is 12 pounds per gallon. So we leave a couple of gallons for them just to eat capped honey up in here. And we do the follower boards on the same thing, just for ventilation. So now they have food for the winter. And make sure you keep your queen excluder in here, because you don't want your queen to be laying eggs in your honey. It's not very tasty. So, and that's it. So that's going to be your winter, from middle of November through the middle of March.
So you really don't have to do anything to them, servicing them?
Yeah, so we go into our hives, for me I go into my hives 55 degrees or warmer. And we like to go into our hives between like 12 and 3. So the heat of the day, so they can warm themselves back up if it's a cold day. Like in January, you know, if you get 60 degrees, you can go in the middle of the day. If it's 40 degrees and raining, we don't go in. We just, if it's windy and cold, we just stay off. Just let them do what they want to do. This is for the winter. So come winter, this helps for mice and it helps for wind. If you're windy, we have just a little spout here so they can come in and go. They're not very active in the winter except for when if the sun is on them. So we want to keep it in the sunniest location. Southern exposure coming out this way. If it's sunny here and their hive is warming up because the box is warming up, then they'll be active. And they'll be active for a short time of day, maybe from like 11 to 2, because in the winter the sun is so short. And then they'll come in and out, and they'll go forage. They'll go find what they can find, and then they'll bring it back. But pretty much the hive is kind of dormant. So end of February, March, if we're warming up, we can open this up a little bit more, and we can do that. So they have a little more activity in the hive, and then April we're starting this all over again. So it's nothing changes. The cycles are all the same. And then in November we downsize this and do the same thing as we just did.
Is there ever a temperature that's too warm for them?
If it's too warm, like we get a 100 degree or 110 degree day, what they'll end up doing is 90%